Over the past few years, Disney has been struggling to release a good movie, and the reason behind it is the poor use of structures. Today, we'll use one well-structured Disney movie and one poorly structured one to highlight the importance of story structure. We're here to break down the question, what is story structure? To understand structures and how to use them effectively, there are several key elements you should know about. First things first, plot. Imagine you're an architect. Not only are you in charge of designing your building, but you're also responsible for constructing it and turning it into a complete finished product. Now, the concept you choose for that building becomes the story idea. The designing process is the equivalent to plotting. By definition, a plot is the sequence of events within a story, a description of what happens and why it happens. However, I'd argue this definition is missing something crucial. If a plot were just a series of events happening one after the other, let's take a look at Disney's Wish to see if it fits this description. Disney's Wish is about a girl named Asha who wants to become the king's assistant. However, after meeting the king and realizing that he has been stealing people's wishes, she decides to save them. Upon discovering this, Asha wishes upon a star, and that star is going to help her rescue the stolen wishes. So they make a plan and go to the king's chamber to free the wishes. This is a summary of half a wish, a series of cause and effect. Something happens and then another thing happens because of that. But why does wish feel so empty? The cause and effect definition misses a crucial element, character growth. This is where structure comes to the rescue. What is story structure? Story structures are as old as ancient Greek's history. The very first structure is probably Aristotle's 5-act structure, which he mentioned in his book, Poetics. Let's return to the building example. If we were to start building a design with hundreds of bricks, where would we start and which brick would we choose? The answer is simple. You choose none. For those bricks to stand in their position, you need the foundation and the skeleton of the building first. This is our structure. The structure guides us on how and when to place those bricks, meaning plot events, in certain positions. According to Robert McKee, structure is a selection of events from the character's life stories that are composed into a strategic sequence to arouse specific emotions and express a particular view of life. See, the events are no longer random. They aren't just connected by cause and effect. They shape a message. This message is the theme. Let's take a look at Soul. Soul's story is about a guy named Joe who wants nothing more than to be a jazz player. He believes that achieving this will bring him happiness and shape his view on life. Soon, one of Joe's friends tell him that he has the opportunity to meet one of the most famous jazz players in the city. But before Joe gets to his big moment, he dies. This causes Joe to go to the great beyond, or the hallway to it. But since he doesn't believe it's his time to die, he escapes and finds himself in the great before, a place where souls find their purpose before being sent to Earth. In the Great Before, Joe meets an unwilling soul named 22, who has no interest in going to Earth. Desperate to return to his body, Joe teams up with 22, and with her help, Joe finds people who can assist him in getting back to his body. However, just moments before they succeed, Joe and 22 accidentally fall to Earth. In this process, Joe ends up in a cat's body and 22 ends up in Joe's body. This marks the middle of Soul's story. You can see there's a significant difference in the narratives. One key reason is that Soul's story is deeply personal, whereas Wish feels more impersonal. So, structures are designed to take you on a personal adventure. But here's another question. How? Character arc. The structure is supposed to lead to the character arc, some kind of change in the way the character perceives life or a shift in their belief system. We don't know much about Asha's beliefs or anything that needs changing in her thoughts. However, we get to know Joe very early on in Soul. We're fully aware of his beliefs. We know there's a problem in his belief system, particularly the misconception that
Because I have piano. It's what I was born to do. That's my spark.
the reality is
A spark isn't a soul's purpose.
As humans, we are very stubborn and we need several pushes to believe in something. That's why story bits are created. They work against our human stubbornness and serve as a way to convince us of something. Imagine you're betrayed by a friend. Initially, you might think they were the problem. Then another friend betrays you, and you start to feel there might be something wrong with humanity. The third time this happens, you develop trust issues. Story structures are designed to plant a seed in a character's mind, whether it's a truth they believe in by the end, like Joe, or a lie leading them through a negative arc. The structure leads them towards growth. In Soul, the entirety of the plot is to lead Joe into realizing that his beliefs on life are the things that keep him from feeling happy, not his failure on becoming a musician. And the structure has an element within itself that helps with this push. Story events. A story event creates meaningful change in the life situation of a character that is expressed and experienced in terms of value. Show, don't tell. Show one event and then show the reaction of the character to it. How does it change them? There's not a single scene in Wish that I can name as a story event, but Soul has a lot of those. The most important one of all being the feeling he has after playing with Dorothea Williams and not having a sense of fulfillment. But we still have another question to answer. How does a physical event lead to an emotional change? It's a fairly simple formula. Want and need. The character wants something and they will pursue it. Along the way, obstacles will prevent them from achieving their goal. Each of these obstacles act as a catalyst for change within the character. A structure helps you, as the writer, determine how much time is needed to show the consequences of each event. We can't jump from one thing to another. There has to be time spent with the character, allowing the audience to witness and understand their growth. This means a plot isn't simply a series of cause and effect. It's much more. We have to entangle the events of the plot with our character and their desires. It's necessary to make them change through this narrative. From the very start, Asha has a want, but she achieves it very quickly, making her and the story irrelevant. The want should introduce something within the character's belief system. Even if the want changes or evolves into smaller wants, we still have the character and their journey of growth to root for. Eventually, the climax would lead them to see the errors in their beliefs. As for Joe, he has a clear want and need throughout the story. He wants to become a musician and believes that this will bring him ultimate happiness. It's through 22's enthusiasm for life that Joe realizes life isn't about one moment, it's about cherishing every moment.
I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, "I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean." "The ocean?" says the older fish. "That's what you're in right now." "This?" says the young fish. "This is water. What I want is the ocean."
Theme. This video focuses on structure, aiming to stay on point. I will make this section as short as possible, but if you want me to explain themes for you in another video, make sure to comment below. A well-structured story incorporates all the key elements, including theme. The theme is the message you want your audience to understand. The simplest way to explain it is by presenting two constructing sides or notions of the message within the story. In Wish, there's a clear antagonist, but he serves no meaningful purpose to the story. He is simply evil for the sake of being evil. However, Soul takes a different approach. It doesn't have a traditional antagonist, yet it manages to juxtapose two notions and illustrate the consequences of each. This will help you develop your theme and make the characters multidimensional. Themes can also help you with writing dialogue and putting subtext into it. Themes can be the ultimate indicators of wants and needs of your character. What structure is the best? There are many structures out there that can help you with writing your story. The most famous one is probably the 3-act story structure, but there are many variations of this structure as well, like Save the Cat. There are also structures like the hero's journey, which can be used in fantasy and sci-fi. We have Dan Harmon's story circle and so many other structures. characters? The short answer is the structure depends on you and your story, but no matter what you choose and no matter the genre, it is important to write stories that are personal. Take your audience on an emotional journey. There's a reason why this blob of a soul named 22 resonates so much more than a grown-ass person, because they have character traits and the story is about their journey of change. What are your thoughts on this topic? Make sure to comment them below for me, and see you next time!